Hey everybody, it's Tuesday. I'm still not on my game, still kind of whacked out from the trip. I had to try 4 times to make this video into very late in the evening because I kept screwing things up and so it didn't record. But enough about my failures. This is very ironic. The title of the video is there a narcissism epidemic on the internet? And I am basing it on this book, The Narcissism Epidemic, which I kept coming across in citations on the internet about sort of online bullying and narcissism and all that stuff, and you know how trolls tend to be more kind of narcissistic, more likely to have a personality disorder, so on and so forth. This book kept getting cited, and I happened to own it because my husband bought it back in the day, so I decided to read it on the plane. And wow, is it enlightening. This book was written in 2009 and references Donald Trump a lot as an example of a narcissist, and this is long before he ran for president. So I found that really interesting, and kind of the thing the book talked about without talking about is part of his appeal is the fact that he appeals to other narcissists. And the number of narcissists in our society has grown exponentially since the baby boomer generation until it's 1 in 16 people suffering from full-blown narcissistic personality disorder at some point in their lives. I'm reading that right from the book. 1 in 16. 1 in 16 people. That's a sizable portion of the electorate that's just a lock for, you know, a like-minded person. And so I read this book and it's very interesting, but they talk about this narcissism personality index. And I thought the first place to start was this particular index. I thought that it made some sense to just take the test myself and see how I did. So you'll see, I'll link to the bottom if you want to take it yourself, just out of interest. But here we go. You'll see for each pair of items, choose the one that you most identify with. If you identify with both equally, choose which one you think is the most important. And I think that instruction is very significant. That's a well-worded question, because that's one of the things that drive me crazy when it's a binary question. Like, I don't really agree with either of them. So it's like, okay, if I kind of agree with both, which one's the most important? Fine, you've made the decision. You have made my decision much easier. So I prefer to just go boom, 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 really fast. Don't think about it, because I find that's how I get the best result. And I will notice that one of the questions is either the thought of ruling the world frightens the hell out of me versus if I ruled the world, it would be a better place. Maybe that is the binary that has caused so many people to come after me is being a terrible person, because I come down on the side of the thought ruling the world terrifies me, as opposed to if I ruled the world, it would be a better place. So how did I score on the narcissistic personality index? A whopping 2. 2 out of 40. Now, the average, they say the people who have found this online test are probably not that representative of the general population. So the averages from a few other groups are tabled below. So university undergrads in 1988, 15.6. U.S. adults overall in 2009, 15.3. U.S. celebrities, 17.8. Now, no surprise that celebrities tend to be more narcissistic than the general population. What does that say about YouTubers? I'll leave that open. But the point is, I can now be reasonably certain that I am not a narcissist. Perhaps I could do with a bit more arrogance, which I was talking about on Thursday's Twitch stream. I realized that, I was just talking about myself, and, the idea that a bit more arrogance wouldn't be a bad thing may not be true for everybody. After reading this book, I realized I should have qualified that. Oops, my mistake. But yeah. It could very well be that the reason I am just so different in terms of my opinion is, one, I'm older, And apparently narcissism peaks in the teens and then, gradually drops off if you get older. And I'm in my 40s, so I'm well beyond teen. I'm in the second half of an average lifespan. But also, I'm one of those nerds who, constantly wants to keep getting better. It was interesting, the chapter in the book on narcissism and academic results. They actually found that narcissism, a very high opinion of oneself, does not make for better outcomes. And in fact, when they did a test using underperforming students, in a psychology course, they started off around 54% each, which is like barely passing. So they split them into a control group and a test group, and the control group only got a sample question so they could practice, so they had an idea of what was going to be in the test. The other group got a sample question and an affirmation telling them how wonderful they were. The control group, their grades didn't change. The sample question didn't help them at all. The test group that also got the affirmation dropped from 54% grade, a 54% grade, to a 38% grade. So they did notably less well when somebody was telling them how wonderful they were. Which makes me wonder if negative YouTube comments aren't doing me a favor. Let's not go too far down that rabbit hole. I do think that it is important to be able to see your strengths. As the book says, there's a difference between healthy self-esteem, which is based on reasonably being able to determine what you do well based on results. That all makes sense. Like, we all kind of went, yeah, we should be able to recognize what we are good at and what we are not so good at. The problem occurs when we have an inflated sense of ourselves, so we don't learn from our mistakes. And I did find that one question very amusing, because I'm like, wow, that was basically what I got in so much trouble over a week and a half ago, right? That my belief that no single person should control not just the world, but time itself for any reason, and other people going, no, the ends justify the means. That's basically what it came down to. And so the people who disagree with me are coming down on the more narcissistic side of that binary. I don't say that. Two very smart people with PhDs and a frequently referenced book say that. One of the people who wrote this book was actually cited on that narcissism test I showed you, and it's linked to at the bottom if you want to take it yourself. But this is one of these things about the internet where people get into debates, and because there's no moderator, people comment these things from completely different points of view. And it's not even, come on, camera, focus. There we go. Okay. It's not even that people have two different opinions. It's people have two completely different ways of thinking. And I'm just in the point in the book where they get on education and how education is contributing to this. But one of the comics over the weekend that I found very funny is a teacher who teaches very, very rich kids. And they were telling me that, you can't correct them on anything. You can't say they're wrong on anything. You can't even tell them to stop farting in class because that's shaming. So this poor teacher has to suck up kid farts all day that we determine smell like a combination of ketchup and birthday cake and a hot dog. And no, that's not good. But they have to suck this up all day and can't tell the kids, that's freaking disgusting. My God, like, seriously, don't just fart on people. And These are not kindergartners, okay? This teacher taught from kindergarten all the way up to grade 12 because it was a Montessori school. And she said kids in middle school, didn't know you can't just let one rip wherever you want. Because the fart shaming, freaking fart shaming is a thing. I can totally see how we have a narcissism epidemic when you can't even tell kids not to fart on people or fart around people because it freaking stinks. Oh my God. Like, hold it in and go to the bathroom. And you can't fart shame people anymore. Like, oh my God. Back in my day, if a kid ripped one in class, everybody laughed. And they were either class clown or mortified, like horribly embarrassed. Now, apparently kids are letting one rip well into like 6th to 9th grade. Kind of feels like we're doomed, right? No, I'm kidding. But like the palpable frustration of this teacher was totally understandable. And I think we can all understand that, when you're in a classroom full of 30 kids who just decide to fart whenever they want, that the whole class constantly smells like farts, and that's not something anybody should be subjected to. But this is the age we live in. The teachers have to suck up child farts all day because these little snowflakes are so precious that you can't tell them that that's friggin' gross well into their teens. And that's one of the things the book says, that we are actually cultivating narcissists as specifically America. Other cultures, Europe doesn't rank this highly. Asian cultures, oh hell no. The most highly achieving racial group, which is Asian students, actually ranks the absolute lowest on self-esteem tests, because Asian cultures don't have the same sense of individualism. They have more of a collective identity, and they do better. So feeling good about yourself does not, feeling an exaggerated sense of self-importance does not make you do better. Though, you shouldn't go around hating yourself and not feeling like you deserve to live. There's a happy medium. We need to get back to the age of happy mediums. Emotional centrism. Like, there is a balance that can be achieved where you're open to criticism, where you realize you have strengths and weaknesses, you're not perfect at everything, and you're not objectively better than anybody else because you're better at a few things. And hating yourself. There's a happy medium. But, yeah, interesting stuff, huh? I'm going to keep reading the book, but it definitely explains YouTube. I mean, based on the celebrity index, more narcissistic people would be drawn to the immediate attention of YouTube, and they just ignore any comments. Like, you don't know anything, or they get really mad and fight with people. Like, it really makes sense. It really contextualizes a lot of the behavior on YouTube in a way that's very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to wrap there. This is really awkward because I always hate this part. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. This is awkward because, as you see, I got a 2 on the narcissism test. Chilling makes me feel awkward, but the boost in support last month was greatly appreciated. It was super helpful. So I appreciate that. Keep it going, and thanks for watching.